A man appeared on the corner the cat had been watching. Appeared so suddenly and silently you'd have thought he'd just popped out of the ground. The cat's tail twitched and its eyes narrowed. Nothing like this man had been ever seen in Privet Drive. He was tall, thin, and very old. Judging by the silver of his hair and beard, which were both long enough to tuck into his belt, he was wearing long robes, a purple cloak which swept the ground, and high-heeled, buckled boots. His blue eyes were light, bright, and sparkling behind half-moon spectacles, and his nose was very long and crooked, as though it had been broken at least twice. This man's name was Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore didn't seem to realize that he had just arrived in a street where everything from his name to his boots was unwelcome. He was busy rummaging in his cloak, looking for something, but he did seem to realize he was being watched because he looked up suddenly at the cat, which was still staring at him from the other end of the street. For some reason, the sight of the cat seemed to amuse him. He chuckled and muttered
I should have known.
he had found what he was looking for in his inside pocket. It seemed to be a silver cigarette lighter. He flicked it open, held it up in the air, and clicked it. The nearest street lamp went out with a little pop. He clicked it again. The next lamp flickered into darkness. 12 times he clicked the put outer until the only light left in the whole street were two tiny pinpricks in the distance, which were the eyes of the cat watching him. If anyone looked out of the window now, even beady-eyed Mrs. Dursley, they wouldn't be able to see anything that was happening down on the pavement. Dumbledore slipped the put-outer back inside his cloak and set out down the street towards number 4, where he sat down on the wall next to the cat. He didn't look at it, but after a moment he spoke to it.
Fancy seeing you, Professor McGonagall.
He turned to smile at the tabby cat, but it had gone. Instead, he was smiling at a rather severe-looking woman who was wearing square glasses, exactly the shape of the markings the cat had around its eyes. She too was wearing a cloak, and an emerald one. Her black hair was drawn into a tight bun. She looked distinctly ruffled.
How did you know it was me?
She asked.
My dear Professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly.
You'd be stiff if you'd been sitting on a brick wall all day.
Said Professor McGonagall.
All day, when you could have been celebrating, I must have passed a dozen feasts and parties on my way here.
Professor McGonagall sniffled angrily.
Oh, yes, everyone's celebrating, all right.
She said impatiently.
You think they'd be a bit more careful? But no, even the Muggles have noticed something's going on. It was on the news. She jerked her head back at the Dursleys' dark living room window. I heard it. Fox of owls, shooting stars. Well, they're not completely stupid. They were bound to notice something. Shooting stars down in Kent. I'll bet that was Daedalus Diggle. He never had much sense.
You can't blame them.
Said Dumbledore gently.
We've had precious little to celebrate for 11 years.
I know that,
Said Professor McGonagall irritably.
but that's not reason to lose our heads. People are being downright careless out on the street in broad daylight, not even dressed in Muggle clothes, swapping rumors.
She threw a sharp sideways glance at Dumbledore here. as though hoping he was going to tell her something. But he didn't so. She went on.
Ah, fine. Think it would be if, on the very day you know who seems to have disappeared at last. The Mughals found out about us all. I suppose he really has gone. Dumbledore?
It certainly seems so.
Said Dumbledore.
We have much to be thankful for. Would you care for a sherbet lemon?
What?
A sherbet lemon? They're a kind of noodle sweet I'm rather fond of.
No, thank you.
Said Professor McGonagall coldly, as though she didn't think this was the moment for sherbet lemons.
As I say, even if you know who has gone,
My dear professor, surely a sensible person like yourself can call him by his name. All this you know who nonsense for 11 years I have been trying to persuade people to call him by his proper name, Voldemort.
Professor McGonagall flinched, but Dumbledore, who was unsticking two sherbet lemons, seemed not to notice.
It all gets so confusing if we keep saying you know who. I have never seen any reason to be frightened to say Voldemort's name.
I know you haven't.
Said Professor McGonagall, sounding half exasperated, half admiring. But
You're different. Everyone knows you are the only one you know. Alright, Voldemort was frightened of.
You flatter me.
said Dumbledore calmly,
Voldemort had powers I will never have.
Only because you are too well noble to use them. It's lucky it's dark. I haven't blushed so much since Madame Pomfrey told me she liked my new earmuffs.
Professor McGonagall shot a sharp look at Dumbledore and said, "Thou
Are not into the rumors that are flying around. You know what everyone's saying about why he disappeared, about what finally stopped him.
It seemed that the Professor McGonagall had reached the point she was most anxious to discuss. The real reason she had been waiting on a cold hard wall all day, for neither as a cat nor as a woman had she fixed Dumbledore with such a piercing stare as she did now. It was plain that whatever everyone was saying, she was not going to believe it until Dumbledore told her it was true. Dumbledore, however, was choosing another sherbet lemon and did not answer.
What you say
She pressed on.
is that last night Voldemort turned up in Godric's Hollow. He went to find the Potters. The rumors is that Lily and James Potter are that they're dead.
Dumbledore bowed his head. Professor McGonagall gasped.
Lily and James! I can't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Oh, Albus!
Dumbledore reached out and patted her on the shoulder.
I know.
He said heavily. Professor McGonagall's voice trembled as she went on.
That's not all. They're saying he tried to kill the Potter's son Harry, but he couldn't. He couldn't kill that little boy. No one knows why or how, but they're saying that when he couldn't kill Harry Potter, Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone.
Dumbledore nodded glumly.
It's true.
Faltered Professor McGonagall.
After all he's done, all the people he's killed, he couldn't kill a little boy. It's just astounding of all the things to stop him. But how in the name of heaven did Harry survive?
We can only guess.
Said Dumbledore.
We may never know.
Professor McGonagall pulled out a lace handkerchief and dabbed at her eyes beneath her spectacles. Dumbledore gave a great sniff as he took a golden watch from his pocket and examined it. It was a very odd watch. It had 12 hands but no number.